What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players and MLS podcast. It's been a minute since we sat down and just chatted some big breaking MLS news or MLS adjacent news for some of these topics today. We're going to talk La Liga in the United States. Is it happening? People want it to happen, but some people don't want to have it happen. We'll talk about it. Tim Ford has himself in the middle of some drama. If you are not an MLS sicko like us, that's a referee, not a player, nor a coach or owner. A referee is in the middle for being biased towards Vancouver Whitecaps of all teams. We'll chat about if it makes sense for him to be in this spotlight, and we'll wrap it all up with I cannot believe that we're still talking about this, but the USMNT and specifically Christian Pulisic are back in the limelight yet again to talk about the Gold Cup, which happened 2 months ago, and we're still talking about it. So we'll give our thoughts on that teaser that was posted by Paramount Plus and the USMNT as a whole. I'm Andrew, that's Connor, and this is this week's MLS news. Connor, what a crazy series of stories we have today.
It is. It is it's going to be a good one. I think a lot of the time is probably going to be spent on that last one, if I had to guess, though. Probably
That's
a
what you
lot to say on
that's what
that.
you think. You know how much, you know how long I could talk about Tim Ford,
It is what I think. That's why I share my opinion.
which
Well,
nobody
Tim
asked
Ford wasn't
for.
your referee of the year, so it doesn't matter.
Was he your referee of the year? He might have been.
I'll check. I don't
You
think
know,
so,
he might
though.
have been. I don't think
I
he's
don't
getting
think
it
so.
this
I
year,
don't think so.
team. No, no, you went with Mr. However, who pulled his hamstring in the Red Bull game.
Wait, did I not pick one? I don't see him on my list.
Oh, don't worry about it. We'll check back later because we have a lot to get into today, including Scarf of the Week. What are you rocking?
Well, I too am a referee, so I brought up my LAFC scarf. Get it? Get it?
See what I'm doing here? I'm stretching because that's what you just did.
How is that a stretch?
Because you could have done anything
The whole
like
thing's centered around LAFC. What do you
wrong. It's centered
mean?
around Vancouver Whitecaps. If you read and knew the story, you would be properly prepared.
Yeah, what was his entire family wearing in all the pictures that I saw?
Who's putting
They
the
were not wearing
complaints in
Vancouver
there?
Whitecaps merch.
Who's listen? He's not wearing LAFC merch either, apparently, because that's how he got cleared. Is they said we can't tell if he's wearing LAFC gear or not, so we move. Bef- Before we get to that, why don't we go to? Do you want to start with that since we're already on it? Let's just start with it.
Let's just start with it.
Yeah, why not?
Out of
Let's
order,
mix it
out
up.
of
We're going
whack. That's what we
crazy,
do.
man. We're going crazy. Oh man. Well, let's start Tim Ford drama then. MLS referees, they are soccer people too, funny enough. You don't just get to be a random nobody who then gets to referee games. You have to like the game and be a part of it. And they have clubs that they're connected to, just like anybody else, right? And while they try to remain neutral to the job at hand, naturally, any call in favor or against a specific team will be met with an intense level of scrutiny. And we see this all the time, right? If you look at the New York Red Bulls, for example, literally any team that plays against us, the referee, it's their favorite team because we always get the calls against us. We never get anything in for us. It's ridiculous. However, most recently, our friends in Vancouver have brought up a gripe against Tim Ford for repeated poor performances against their side. So, just to give you a rundown of what the problem is, some of us are old enough to remember the 2023 MLS Cup playoffs, where LAFC knocked out the Vancouver Whitecaps in 2 games in round one. They were given a PK to win the second game 1-0. And Vanni Sartini was sent off in that game, leading to some infamous comments suggesting that if Tim Ford were found, I don't know, unalive floating in a river, that the police would have to contact him first. An absolutely elite press conference that I still can't believe is real, but that happened. Tim Ford was in charge of that game, giving the penalty to LAFC and winning the game, letting them win the game 1-0. Not letting them, but the game won 1-0. Vanni Sartini also sent off in that match for his comments and gestures and such. This past week, he was in charge of San Jose versus Vancouver. He sent off Eddie Campo for 2 very soft yellows and then gave San Jose a penalty kick, which would win them the match at the end of the day. Jesper Sorensen was quoted as saying that everybody saw a man slip in the box and only one man saw a penalty kick. We then live in the world of VAR where they also said a man slipped in the box and Tim Ford still said penalty kick. While the outcome cannot be changed, the suspension and the fine for Ocampo was rescinded. So he's no longer suspended. He doesn't have to pay a fine because they saw that there was a clear and obvious error. All of this leading to the real story, which we were, hinting at before. It was found that Tim Ford attends LAFC matches with his family. According to his wife's Instagram post, Bank of America Stadium at the time, or BMO Field now, is Tim and his kids' happy place. This goes back further to show that in 2023, a few days before the playoff match that we were just speaking of, his kids got to meet and greet all of the LAFC players right before he refereed the second game. So it's time to ask, do we think referees are biased against certain MLS teams? Share your thoughts.
I mean, like you said, they're humans, right? Like they're gonna probably have, whether they show it or not, they're probably going to have some level of bias towards certain teams and certain players, and maybe it's just based off of how they get treated by certain teams and by certain players. But I mean, listen, I think from what I can see online, it's majority of just Whitecaps fans talking about it. So I don't necessarily think that anybody outside of the West Coast is putting too much time and effort into this whole conversation. However, little homage to my referee of the year there. This is just not a good look, period. To like have social media posts of you and your family supporting one specific team. Like it's just not a good look. Like I think there needs to be some level of understanding that if you're going to be a referee in the league, that you and your family just cannot be making posts on social media in support of one specific club. Like it's different if you're just like, hey, we went to MLS Cup semifinals at BMO Stadium and it was a really good time. Like it was a lot of fun being at the game, but it's like you're in LAFC merch, you're taking pictures with LAFC players, you're taking pictures at the like with LAFC jerseys on at the LAFC stadium. Like it's just not a good look. Regardless of like even regardless of what the calls are on the field, it's just still like a bad look. If this were happening in the Prem, people would be up in arms. Like I genuinely think this is not something that's exclusive to how people are reacting in Major League Soccer. Like this is just it would not be a good look in any sports league anywhere in the world.
Yeah. First off, Vancouver. He's basically saying nobody cares about you. Did you hear that? Oh, only people in
I did
Vancouver are
not.
talking about it. Nobody cares about Vancouver, is what he's saying. So please roast him in the comments. And while you're here, make sure you're
I
following
did
us, right?
not say nobody cares about Vancouver. I just said that when I scroll through, I looked up I literally Twittered Tim Ford and it is strictly all Vancouver accounts talking about it.
Vancouver, he's saying you don't matter. So make sure you go get him. And I didn't
They
say
do
this
matter.
before.
I love Vancouver. I've actually been to Vancouver, unlike you.
Wow.
Have you been to Vancouver?
This is giving. I'll tell you off air. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna make that joke here.
No,
Um,
I know what you're thinking.
um, I didn't say this before. Make sure you're following us on social media so that you can get involved with some of our comments. We're gonna do something at the end here that I'll allude to, but you definitely want to be following us to be a part of it. I think this is such a non-story. Like this got blown out of proportion to the levels of ridiculousness, right? You can argue, and I do think it's fair, right? The LAFC thing was weird, right? If you're a fan, if you're a referee, you shouldn't be taking your kids to meet the players a few days before you referee the biggest game of their season to that point, right? It's just a little weird. And even if you do, don't post it, right? Stay off the socials. Don't post it. You have, or even don't go with them, right? Let the wife take them, let grandpa take them, aunt, uncle, whatever. Or if you want to go, stand off to the side and don't be in front of the cameras, right? Don't pose for all these pictures and stuff because it does cast into light this feeling of, oh, this is kind of sketchy. I don't know about it. That being said, to go out and say that he is clearly biased, again, you mentioned this is a Vancouver complaint, right? To say that he's completely biased against Vancouver after seeing him posted up in appears to be LAFC gear, and I have to say that because, and I'll just get to it now. Tim Ford was cleared of any wrongdoings because, and I quote from the pro uh, uh, press release, they could not conclude if he was wearing LAFC merch. For whatever reason, all of his family were wearing the stuff, but they couldn't conclude that he was wearing any of it, so he got cleared. That being said, to go back and say that he's biased against Vancouver because of this after a game that didn't even involve LAFC is like the biggest stretch I've ever seen. I'm not saying it's a good look, right? I'm not saying like, oh yeah, no, this is fine. Don't worry about it. But to say that he intentionally caused you to lose or gave a red card to Ocampo and gave a penalty against Tristan Blackman just to make sure Vancouver lost, so that LAFC, who are currently 12 points back, by the way, from the top of the West, I think they're 8 or 9 points back from Vancouver, is crazy, right? Like what is this idea? Like, oh man, Tim Ford is the referee for Vancouver and he's an LAFC fan, so he's making sure we lose. And then you look at the standings; they're 12 points back. This is absurd. ESPN posted an article that outlined this, but it ended with the records of Vancouver and LAFC when Tim Ford officiated a match. Did you see this, or can I have you guess? Go ahead, have a guess.
I haven't
What's
seen it.
Vancouver's record? 9 games. 9 games.
I'm guessing Vancouver has won four, lost two, and tied three.
They're 3-3-3. I was making sure your math was right there for a second. Yeah, they're 3-3-3. They're a perfect 500. He hasn't favored them. He hasn't gone against them. They're 3-3-3. What about LAFC with 7 games?
I'm gonna say, well, I can't split it across the board, but I'll say 2 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses.
3 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. They're 3-2-2. They're making it sound like Vancouver hasn't won in 8 years since he's been a referee, and LAFC hasn't lost since he's existed. Like, what are we doing here? Referees get things wrong, right? Allow it. As I mentioned, Tim Ford was not sanctioned. He got off. Do you agree with that? Do you think he should have been sanctioned? I think I know where we're going with this, but just to wrap it up.
Probably not. I don't think so. I mean, I think it should definitely be pretty clear to referees, though. I still stand by the fact that I think they should not be posting, like anybody themselves or an immediate family should be posting about basically in support of specific teams. Like it's very clear that the family is an LAFC supporter. Like I don't think there's any beating around the bush on that one. But every single fan base can probably put together an entire compilation of this ref is biased against my club.
And
Like
they have.
everybody can.
And they have.
Yeah, and they have. Exactly. Like everybody's gonna have a complaint about a referee because you're not gonna remember the good calls, right? It's just gonna go into the back of your mind, whatever. You're gonna remember the bad calls. It's always gonna stick with you. It's gonna stand out more. So it's like, oh, this person has refed 15 of our matches over the last however many years. I can distinctly remember these 2 or 3 bad calls that they've had against my team. Like clearly they suck. They hate our team. They're biased against our team. Like, listen, maybe he has a bad game every now and then. What player doesn't have a bad game? People just have off days. Like it happens. I don't think he should be sanctioned. I think there should be clear communication to people though within the referee space that like you just can't be posting on social media in support of another team. Like it's just regardless of any sort of favoritism, it's just not a good look. It's not a good look for the referees. It's not a good look for the league.
No, and I completely agree, right? I think my thought process is the exact same, right? I even think them coming out and being like, we couldn't conclude if he was wearing LAFC merch. I don't care if he was or not, because I don't think that is impacting his decision making, because refs get things wrong all the time. Refs get things wrong in big games. It happens, right? And that's where the microscope comes in, right? Oh yeah, he clearly missed this. And if you go back, also by the way, stalking somebody's wife 2 years into the past of her Instagram post is weird. That is weird creepo
It's
behavior.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Just because you
I,
were upset with a call.
yeah, I cannot get behind this idea of like, again, it's giving like, oh, kid gets drafted. Let's go look back at his, post from 2007 and see if we can cancel him. Like, relax, people. He gets things wrong. It happens. I think the best thing that came out of this was that the pro referees, they came out and are reevaluating their process for, and I quote, what constitutes a connection with the club for their referees. And that's great. Improve your process, get more solid around what this means, be able to lay things out and have rules and regulations, whatever. But this is a non-story, right? This is insane. I can't believe that this. I can't believe we're talking about this, but here we are.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a story, but I don't think it's a big story, and I don't think it should become a big story. Like we should just resolve it and move on. I don't think it should become a big thing.
Well, unfortunately, the fourth biggest MLS podcast in the world is talking about this, so it's going to become a big thing. So it's our fault when it does. So sorry about that.
You should be.
Let's then move on to this La Liga in the United States thing, where we were going to start off originally. Last week, the Spanish Football Federation approved a request from Barcelona and Villarreal to play a league match, a La Liga regular season match in Miami. Now, this was rumored to happen for some time, and we actually gave our thoughts on what would happen if this were to be a thing, but now it's at our doorstep. It still needs approval from UEFA and FIFA, and it will take place in December. We have seen vehement pushback from supporters of both clubs who are going to boycott and do a whole bunch of stuff to try and prevent this from happening. With all the hurdles that this has to go through, as we just mentioned, do you think this actually happens? Let's start there.
Of course it will. There's too much money to be made. They're gonna force it to happen, even if they gotta skirt around a couple of rules that are in place.
Interesting. Very quick, very easy. Didn't have any more there.
Unfortunately, that's the direction the game has gone. It's just all about money nowadays. So if there's money to be made, which I'm sure if this happens, we'll make so much money. Of course they're gonna do it. Especially for a team like Barcelona too, where they're like running out of levers to pull. This is a new one, I guess.
Don't worry, I've got a whole section on that.
Okay,
I don't
good.
know if this happens. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if this happens, right? I think that,
Wow,
we've
ride the
been
fence.
no, listen. We have been preached at by these pro-rel advocates for years, right? Nothing beats the community connection to a club in Europe. That's what we need to get to because they would do anything for their fans because that's what's important. Not, I mean, winning games and connection to the club. Nothing else matters, which we all knew was a lie. But now it's showing its face, right? As teams continue to trend more closely to being brands instead of teams, it doesn't shock me that at the very least this is moving forward, right? And the reason why I say that is you've got NBA who are currently talking about creating a European division, right? Taking teams from Real Madrid and Bayern Munich and whatever and making basketball teams out of them and the NFL who are constantly continuing their global expansion. Brazil, other parts of South America, Germany, England, this place, that place. I mean, they are just playing games all over the place. It isn't to me completely out of the question that other sports, specifically ones like soccer, which are already competing for global eyes with other leagues in their own sport, right? MLS is fighting with the Premier League. The Premier League's fighting with, the Bundesliga. Bundesliga fighting with La Liga, whatever, right? That makes me think that they might feel threatened to survive by the idea of American sports taking over, right? And this might be their response. As Americans close in around them and put basketball teams in their backyard and football games in their backyard and all this stuff where fans are like, "Oh, this is different. This is interesting. Maybe I'll start following this." This might be their response to say, "Okay, well, we need to grab people from over there and make them fans of us because if we don't continue to grow, we die." Now, that is a very end of the world sort of, last case, worst case scenario thing. But this is going to impact the sports landscape as we know it. And how that happens, we're going to have to wait and see. So did that sound too fluffed up, do you think?
I mean, I don't think it's a move out of desperation. I think it's just they recognize the fact that Messi's in Miami, so he's probably pulled a lot of Barcelona fans in the area or nearby that are going to be willing to go to a game if Barcelona's playing there. I think maybe for Barcelona, it's kind of a last ditch effort considering all the alleged financial stress that they're in, even though they somehow continue to spend boatloads of money. But I think it's just I don't necessarily think like it's a sport that I think transcends other American sports. Like it's just been around for too long, built too much of a connection. It's the same like if we were truly gonna if American sports were truly going to be that much of a beatdown against teams in other countries, if they started to kind of move in and into their space, I feel like Major League Soccer would not have the foothold that it does. And that's not to say it has a major foothold, but people still like Major League Soccer. Or sorry, I think I said that incorrectly. What I was trying to say was Major League Soccer hasn't been able to get more of a foothold quicker because there's all these other sports that have been around for super long periods of time, maybe centuries at this point, and people are just too committed to it. There's generational fandoms, like they're not going to part ways with it just because a shiny new Major League Soccer team pops up in their area. And I feel like the same thing is going to happen in Europe. So I don't necessarily think that it's a desperation move. I just think it's an opportunity for them to catch a quick buck and move on.
Interesting. Now, the desperation against other American sports, maybe that's the bigger stretch. But I do think that leagues that aren't the Premier League are going to see this as a and again, maybe desperation also wasn't the right word to describe it, but as the Premier League continues to grow and grow and grow and get all of this money funneled into them, you've seen Ligue 1, for example, right, who can't get a TV deal. You've seen Serie A, whose teams continue to go into financial failure every year because they can't fund what they're doing because they have no TV revenue coming in. They're running out of options, right? Now, again, the super teams like Barcelona, sure, you're not really going to have that many issues. I mean, you've got who is it, Laporta, who's like $40 billion rich and will pull 70, like you're saying, 75 different layers to make sure that he's within financial rules and blah 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 and whatever. But they don't have the money to compete with other European teams. So when you're looking for global eyeballs, and we're going to get into this in a second, when you're looking for global eyeballs, most of them are going to the Premier League. Why? Because they've got the most money and the most talent and the most people. They're buying everything. They're making themselves a bigger brand than everybody else. That means that the TV people are like, oh, well, I know where I'm putting my money to. I'm going to put it towards this team or that team or this league or whatever. And if it's not going to the Premier or to the La Liga, or even worse, if the La Liga, because I think I remember reading La Liga's TV deal was so one-sided, where it was like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, always finish 1, 2, 3, but they get 70% of the revenue, and the rest of the 30 get, distinct distributed out to whoever's underneath them. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I feel like I remember reading it once, but let's pivot from that for a second. We're gonna go global here in a second, but let's put our tinfoil hats on here. Pretend that this gets approved, right? What does it mean for MLS? How does this impact our league?
Me personally, I think it means nothing right now. However, I do think I think it is a good sign for the future. And I don't know if I want to go too far into that because I think it might touch into what this means for global soccer, and I don't want to jump the agenda and get yelled at.
Okay, interesting. At first, I had the reaction that we did when we first did this. This is stupid. It's going to be a relatively big hit to MLS if they start playing on top of our season games and cutting everything out and, basically taking over the time that MLS needs to grow. The game is scheduled for December 21st, 4 days before Christmas. That then changed my mindset. I was like, you know what? I think that this has the same impact or less of an impact than the summer preseason series does. Because at least the summer preseason series, you have people who are like, oh, I might go to the Atlanta game, or I might go to watch Man United versus Everton in their preseason because that's my first team. December 21st, nobody's watching anything MLS related. So they're literally this is going to be in my opinion, a bona fide exhibition match. Yeah, sure, it has real world experience, sure. Or real league experience, sure. But in terms of impact on what the viewer is going to see, it's going to be non-existent because we're not cutting anything out. MLS Cup will already be done. Uh we won't have had any preseason stuff for another couple weeks after that. So it's right it's in if it's going to happen, it's in the perfect time to do it. If you think about it, right, most people know that Barcelona's coming and they're bringing another Spanish team with them. If you ask them to name two players on Villarreal, they couldn't do it. I know I couldn't. But those people who are like, oh, Barcelona's coming, they already know there's a gap in quality. They already know that, oh, La Liga is better than MLS. You're not going to see this wave of fans flood away from MLS being like, oh, this is what I want to watch every week. It's just going to be another, and you were alluding to this before, it's just going to be another overpriced soccer event that Euro snobs and self-proclaimed soccer purists are going to attend to feel morally superior to their MLS counterparts and be like, oh, yeah, you guys watch Columbus Crew. Yeah, I'm putting my money towards Barcelona. Thank you.
Some things will never change.
Never, never. Well, then let's move then. Let's go to global. Let's hit on your global takes here. Go ahead.
So what I was kind of hinting at before is I don't think this game is going to have any impact on Major League Soccer right now, but I do think it's encouraging in the regard that it seems like the sport has a pretty good foothold in this country. Otherwise, I don't think they would waste their time coming here. I mean, they come here because they know people are going to show up, spend money, and they're going to make a lot, and they're going to pack out a stadium because it's Barcelona. So I don't think they do that unless they really feel that there is a strong enough contingency of people here who are into the sport. Maybe right now they're mainly just interested in a couple of the big Premier League teams, Barcelona, Real Madrid, whatever. But I think there's maybe potential down the line, and it would take a lot of work, many, many years. Don't think this is something that would happen in a short term. But if people are already into the sport, I think you got a better shot at converting them into a fan of the local league, as opposed to somebody who just hates soccer in general and just thinks it's a garbage sport and won't give it the time of day. So I think it could be a positive sign for the future that the sport in general is just maybe it's a sign that I think the sport in general is growing in the country.
I think it's a hopeful point of view. I think it's one of those like, oh, somebody's going to see that and then, you know, be drawn to watch soccer all the time, right? I struggle to see that because I feel like
Well,
that would have happened already, right? You've got all these teams that come over and play their preseason here, and you had the Club World Cup that just happened over here, right? And you don't see a ton of people going like, oh man, I can't wait. Again, I'm going to use my area here because we're within range. We've got tickets through our club to go to Charlotte Red Bull this upcoming, not this Saturday or Sunday, but next Sunday. And we just had the Club World Cup. We have all these kids are huge, like I said, Real Madrid, Barcelona fans, right? Those kids didn't see the Club World Cup and then say, "Oh man, I can't wait to go to Charlotte Red Bull this week." They're all like, "Yeah, maybe I'll go, maybe I won't go, I don't know." Right? There's that turnover doesn't happen, and I get that it's going to take a while to do it, but this isn't the first time we've had European teams on soil. I feel like it would have happened already. Is all I'm saying to a more impactful degree than it has.
I mean, I don't think people cared about the sport as much as in the past when European teams would come here,
Well,
but
they're here
I
every
think
year.
people care more about the sport for preseason games. Like it's,
Sure,
I don't think
you
people
think
are
sorry,
necessarily turning out as much
let
for.
me backtrack this. You think that when December 21st rolls around, the people who are rolling up to this game are going to be well aware of what the La Liga table looks like more than 2 days before they show up to the game? I think there's a small handful of people who
Yeah,
will do
because I
that.
think they're going to all be Barcelona fans.
Well, yeah, there's a small handful of it, but they're
I
not going
don't.
to sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, like Villarreal just, lost 7 on the bounce and it's going to be great." They're going to know that Barcelona shows up and they're top 2 because they're always top 2. I don't think the change between preseason and regular season matters. I also am curious, right? This is something we haven't talked about. We won't touch on it too much today. I'm curious how much they're going to care, right? You're picking them out in the middle of their season, right before Christmas, by the way, right before their Christmas break, making them travel cross continent to play a game in front of Americans who are going to be wearing Messi jerseys who hasn't played there in 6 years, however many years it was. I don't know. I mean, it takes all of the energy out of the game and it makes it feel like it just doesn't matter as much. It doesn't mean as much, right? The energy at Hard Rock Stadium will never ever ever compare to what Camp Nou will give you or wherever Villarreal plays because by the way, this is a Villarreal home game. You could never take a game away from Barcelona at home, by the way.
I mean, listen, what I was saying before is not that. I just think there's been a shift in popularity of the sport in general. I think more people have become fans of the sport. And I think you have a better chance of converting them to following your league if they are already a fan of the sport versus somebody who just does not care for the sport in general. I think you're going to have a harder time getting them to become a fan, which is a lot of people because there's a lot of big American sports here and they follow their football, they follow their basketball, they follow their baseball, and they don't care about soccer. They don't want to put any effort into it. They know enough of it that they know they don't care. But I
Yeah,
think you could, if you continue to invest in the right players, guys like Messi, guys like Son, those are the people that I think could convert. I'll use the example of the kids in your club that you were talking about, right? Like if that is a Charlotte Inter Miami game and they have tickets to go, I think you're seeing maybe not so many more of them, but you're seeing maybe a handful more of them that are like, yeah, I would go to that game. I get a chance to see Messi and all these other Barcelona guys that I know play here. And maybe that's what kickstarts them becoming more of a fan of the league. Maybe they see other guys at that game that they like. Oh, Wilfred Zaha, I remember him. That's another name that I know if I go to that game. But I mean, I think, like I said, it's going to take time. I don't think it's anything that's happening anywhere remotely soon. There's a lot of work to be done on improving the quality, improving the names, improving the marketing. But I just think it's a better opportunity to convince them if they already like the sport in general.
I think it's a stretch. I kind of get where you're going with it, but I'm not sold on it because again, I think it would have been you have a ton of soccer fans here. You've got millions and millions of soccer fans that haven't been converted to MLS fans. It's not because of anything other than the fact that we're just not as good and we don't have the history, right? And nobody wants, and I've said this before, nobody wants to do the legwork of being the person who likes the MLS team before they are good, right? They'll jump on. If that was the case, they all would have been, and just because we were just having the conversation, they all would have been Stoke fans, right? Stoke, bottom half of the table, down in the championship, they would have been diehard Stoke fans because by the time they get up to the Premier League and then start winning things, then we would have been there first. No, they all picked up Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Liverpool because of the top four, and maybe Spurs because they were up there at 1.2, or Barcelona, Real Madrid because they have the best players on FIFA or whatever, right? That doesn't to me that doesn't translate. But we could talk about this for hours, and we will off air because I'm not letting you go for free.
Wait, no, 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 I have one more
Oh
thing I
my
need to one more
Lord.
argument I need to make on
Why
this.
is this the one you get hung up on?
Answer this question. Answer this question for me. All right. So if you have two people, you have a Manchester United. Let's say we're hold on. Let me think of a better example. Manchester United kind of are not good right now. Let's say okay. Let's say you have a big time Bayern Munich fan in the U.S. who doesn't watch Major League Soccer and mainly focuses on watching Bayern Munich, right? Robert Lewandowski comes over to Major League Soccer. Let's say he's playing for the Chicago Fire, right? So he comes over, he's playing for Chicago. Who do you think is more likely to now start to watch games in the league? The guy who's been here as a Bayern fan, who's watched soccer and has a love of Lewandowski, or the guy that's a diehard Chicago White Sox fan that's never seen a single game of soccer in his entire life and has no idea who Robert
I
Lewandowski
think I
is?
think you're pivoting points because to me your point
I
was
don't think so.
originally your point originally was if we bring teams to the US to let them play on our soil, they will support that team and then they will get into their MLS team. Where now it sounds like you're putting an
No,
extra
I
step
don't
in
think
there that's
that.
saying
That's not what I
once they
said.
play here and we sign them 10 years down the road, then they'll come back and watch one game, which by the way also doesn't do anything
No,
for
no,
you.
no, no. You are misinterpreting what I was saying then.
That's
I did
that's
not
where
say
I'm
I
you added
said
this is why I was confused because you added this second point in there like I didn't know where to come from.
no, no, no. I'm not saying that teams coming over is to like woo the people here into falling in love with these players on Barcelona. What I'm saying is that I think the fact that teams want to play games in the US is a good sign that the sport is popular enough here to draw in big enough crowds that they'll make enough money and want to play these games here. And to me, that is encouraging for the long term because I think, as the example I used before, I think you have a better chance of converting somebody who's already into the sport but doesn't follow Major League Soccer than you do somebody who does not follow soccer at all. Because if you're a diehard Barcelona fan and in 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, Lamine Yamal comes over to the US to play in Major League Soccer, the Barcelona fan that's in the US that has not watched any Major League Soccer is more likely to watch Lamine Yamal than the diehard Boston Red Sox fan in the US that's never seen a lick of soccer in his life and has no idea what a Lamine Yamal is. That's the argument that I'm saying.
All right, a couple things. First, absolutely love the New England Revolution or Lamine Yamal's landing spot. Really good. That is very, very, very realistic.
That would be hilarious.
That would be funny. Um, no, and this is where I lost you because originally you didn't have this when we bring somebody else over in 10 years. That wasn't there in the first iteration of it, which is where you lost me. Now I take that into account, and it still doesn't matter because you are then saying, okay, this person's going to watch Lamine Yamal play from Barcelona in Miami. Now we're hoping that one, in 10 to 15 years, we sign him. Two, we sign him in an area that somebody will want to come watch him play. And three, we're hoping that those people are not fans of Barcelona or don't know Barcelona already, then are going to watch this game and be all in on following all of Barcelona. The rate of return on that investment is thousandths of a percent. The odds of that happening are so minuscule, it makes no impact on what we do in relative terms to everything else that we're doing, in my opinion. There's such a small percentage of the people who are going to be at that Barcelona game who don't know anything about Barcelona or are casual Barcelona fans who then are going to fall in love and become diehard Barcelona fans just so that in 10 years they become they go to again, we'll use New England because heck yeah, they go to a New England soccer game in Everett when they have their brand new beautiful stadium, watch Lamine Yamal play for Bruce Arena probably because that's the only real explanation here. Then becomes a diehard New England fan and becomes a season ticket holder. Like the series of events just will not pan out for more than 7 people. Like I don't see how that makes a huge impact, but I do understand what you're trying to say. I understand now where you're at. I just don't think it has a big impact. The reason I'm trying to move on, I know you want to defend yourself. We'll talk about it offline because we still have a section that we need to do here.
Fine, fine, fine.
And we have a whole nother topic because I want to talk about what this does globally for soccer because you kind of were mixing global and MLS. Globally, this is now kind of bigger picture, not MLS, but we look at this thing like the Super League, right? The Super League got shot down, but this is another seismic shift in what global football is viewed as, right? Back in the day, yeah, sure. You can tell me that in the 1920s, it was about teams from communities fighting it to the top, trying to be the best of the best and really connecting with their group, right? But the absurd, unchecked spending from teams in Europe, specifically American owners in England, by the way, for what it's worth. It has created, and I use this term desperation, and we talk about how it might not be the right term, but it's created this feeling of desperation to have a relevance in the global landscape, right? If you're not relevant, again, if you told me that you had these pro rel people who were saying we need pro rel, and they've got Messi as their profile picture, and you asked them who got relegated from La Liga last year, they couldn't tell you, right? Because those teams are not relevant in the global landscape. If you aren't, you cannot compete because you don't have the TV money coming in, you don't have the merch money, you don't have any of that global stuff coming in. So you're going to see, in my opinion, you're going to see teams, leagues, federations that are going to try and follow the money and they're going to try and stay relevant, especially in a world where these attention spans are so short that the second you're out of sight, you're forgotten, right? We only know about Stoke City because Jason. But if Jason wasn't a Stoke City fan, I could not tell you that they were a Premier League team at one point. My final point, and this is where I want to kind of wrap it up before we move on. Everybody complains that the US soccer and MLS are just full of cash grabs. All they want is money, money, money. I can almost guarantee you that in 10 to 15 years, Europe is going to start following that in some way, shape, or form. It might not be Leagues Cup where you've got, La Liga versus Premier League or whatever, but you're going to see more tournaments. You're going to see more games internationally. Ticket prices are already going through the roof. TV deals are going to try and get a step ahead of the next league. It's all coming. because everybody recognizes that money rules what they're trying to do, right? That's why the teams from the fifth division of England are getting Ryan Reynolds and friends to give them millions and millions of dollars to buy their way up the league so they can get relevance and TV revenue and all this sort of stuff. That's why the Saudi investment funds are buying up a bunch of teams so that they can do the same thing and make a whole bunch of money coming back from it. Money has to get you to that point, regardless of whether you think it's the right way or the wrong way to do it. That's the way it is. So to end this off, I don't ever want to hear another word from a blue check mark buying anti MLS nerd on Twitter complaining that they can't get behind MLS because owners only care about money and not about the true spirit of the game. Because every owner in every sport in every country cares about money, and whether they are A, pushed to the brink of desperation, or B, tempted with a large enough pile of the stuff, they are going to do what needs to be done to make sure they get it. They don't care about anything else outside of the bottom line and the end dollar. Whether you care about it, whether you think it's right or wrong, I don't care. You cannot now fall behind on this, especially if you're a fan of this stuff coming over. You can't say, oh, MLS only cares about the money, because so does everybody else. And you're going to see it happen in 10 to 15 years. Soapbox over. How are we?
I think that's how we have to end the segment. I think that's a great way to end the segment.
Where's the BWP gif? Over. Or Thierry Henry did it too. No more. You're done. Because I'm tired of it. But I agree. Let's end that there and let's finish this up then. Oh God.
You know what else I'm tired of?
Christian
I'm
Pulisic
tired of this
talking about the
national
Gold
team.
Cup. Yeah. Me too. Because oh, this is the worst part because I had an intro. That was a good intro there, but I had another intro because we ended Tim Ford with this got blown out of proportion, and then my starting point was, speaking of blowing things out of proportion, did you know we're still talking about the Gold Cup and Christian Pulisic not playing it? It's not because of the pundits. It's because Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah decided that they needed a documentary 1 year before the home World Cup to tell them my feelings are hurt because you keep talking bad about me. What are we doing? This is ridiculous. Let's put it into some context for our friends. Paramount Plus is making a documentary titled Pulisic, where they interview USMNT stars Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, and for some reason, Christian Pulisic's dad has made another cameo. Because why not? You've got other pundits in there as well, putting their thoughts in, but at the end of the day, this is their response to the criticism that other people are giving this USMNT team specifically. Now, I'm going to just preface this. I'm sure you follow the same thing. I don't have Paramount Plus, and I have not watched this documentary, so we're only going off of the teasers. And no, I'm not buying Paramount Plus to hear Christian Pulisic complain about people being mean at him. Sorry. Um, Tim Weah in this clip called the pundits evil because some of their comments they're making after being in his shoes and not winning anything. Mark Pulisic says that they're chasing clicks and should be looking in the mirror before they chat nonsense. I'll use the term because we're a family friendly pod here, of course. And then they posted another clip where Pulisic yet again was trying to defend himself, or he was being asked to defend himself about missing the Gold Cup 2 months ago. What the heck are we doing? I have sections here about like what we should talk about. Let's just riff off of it because this is ridiculous.
I'm just I don't understand. It's like at this point they're just shooting themselves in the foot constantly. It's like I don't under whoever who I don't know if it's for them or if it's the whole national team, but whoever their marketers are or whoever's in charge of their like press really either needs to get their stuff together to keep it PG
Nice.
or they need to be fired because this was a PR disastrous move. Why would you? Can you read the room? The room says right now that they're a bunch of babies that are keep whining. So you make a whole documentary about them whining and complaining. Like, I mean, like you, I'm not buying Paramount Plus to watch this. So there very likely could be points in there that are very valid and very fair. But what's going to circulate and hit the headlines are the moments where they see the players whining and complaining about the way that they are talked about in the media and online, and it's gonna go crazy. Like it's gonna be a horrible look for them. It's gonna be a horrible look for them. It's gonna be a horrible look for the whole team. And I feel bad for the guys that are just kind of like doing what they're supposed to do and showing up for the national team. Guys like Tyler Adams. Like I just feel bad because they're just gonna get looped in by association because they play on the national team, and they've played with these guys for a long time, so they're just naturally going to get looped in. But this was just such a PR disaster move. I don't know why they did this. This just feels so dumb.
I'm not, and I know what this is gonna sound like. This is gonna sound like me being like, just shut up and dribble, right? And that's not where I'm coming with this. But these guys got to just stop talking. This can't be the most important thing on your mind before your club season, the national team, the World Cup. You're more worried about getting a documentary to tell the world that your feelings are hurt because some former players said you're not good enough. How much money did Paramount give you guys to make this thing? That's what I want to know. Because I agree with you, and I have a section here too that says whoever is in charge of Christian Pulisic's PR, out you go, because that you are not doing a good job. Does not matter how much money he gives you. AC Milan gives you enough. You don't need to do that. But this idea that, oh, the pundits need to stop talking. Pundits are critics. They're there to get clicks, right? The people who employ them need an engagement. That's their job. Your job as players is to perform on the field, score goals, win games. When you don't do it, you will get criticized. And it doesn't matter who does it. Whether it's a podcast of two of the best USMNT players in the world who have ever lived, or a top 5 MLS podcast worldwide, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, but man, oh man, this is what happens, right? And this isn't, and I want to make this very clear. I'm not saying it was wrong for them to take time off, right? I still agree that it was the right thing to do. Give yourself a break, relax, rest, recover. The wrong thing to do was to double and triple down on it and still drag out this drama over 2 full months with podcast documentaries and viral clips instead of just playing and just letting it die. Why is it resurfacing again and again and again? We don't need it. Nobody needs this.
Yeah, no, there is absolutely a line to be drawn when it comes to criticizing players, right? Like there is 100% a line and people can take it too far, especially fans. Fans have gone way too far on too many players too many times. 100%. However, if somebody does not cross that line, I I'm like maybe this sounds harsh, but I just don't have a single tear to shed for you. Like if they're criticizing your play because you're playing bad, you make more money than what 99% of people will see in their entire lives.
In a year, by the
I
way. In a
just
year.
in a year. I'm sorry, I just do not have so long as they do not cross that line, I do not have a single tear to shed for you.
No, completely agree. And I don't, and I think we said that on the last time we talked about this too, a month ago. Nobody's crossed the line, and if they did, we would call them out and say, listen, that's too much, right? This is former players saying you're not giving it enough. And professional pundits who have played the game before saying this is a bad look. That's not evil, right? And this isn't where, that's what Tim Weah said. Tim Weah said these guys are evil because they were in our shoes too. They didn't win anything, so they're just trying to get clicks. And Mark Pulisic, Mark Pulisic is giving Lamar Ball, right? Just always in the limelight of my son is big and I'm gonna make sure that I get big off of it. He was at the US Soccer convention talking about pay to play. Like, who are you? You're a dad. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But anyway, he's out here saying, oh, the pundits need to look in the mirror and think before they talk. These guys are former professional national team players. All they've done is look in the mirror and think, what could I have done better? They're then looking at you and saying, you have to do better because I'm looking back and saying, you're not good enough right now. You know what? And they were a lot better than this group is too. And we've said that before. But the reason we hold them to the high standard and all of these people hold them to high standards, because they walked out onto the field in 2019, 2018, whatever year they all started going, with this pretty little title, Golden Generation. They're going to save us, right? And what have they gotten us? In the last 12 months specifically? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Blame the coach, blame the players, blame the competition format. I don't care. But this is the problem here is everybody is like, oh, don't talk to me because you haven't done it either. It's such a 21st century, or let me just go even farther. It's such a 2020, decade way of life, right? When You were a tennis player. I was a soccer player. When a coach told you, "Hey, you're not doing good enough," you say, "Yes, sir," and you walk back. Now we're making documentaries saying, "No, it's your fault, not my fault," and pointing fingers at people a year before the World Cup. Are we kidding?
I'll tell you one good thing that's came out of this. They somehow found a way to unite, I think, everybody in the USMNT fan base. Because I think everybody is in agreement that this is a bad look and it was not the right move. Like everybody. MLS haters, MLS lovers, everybody's aligned on this one. Maybe that was the game plan. You know,
It
unite
had to
everybody
be.
before the World Cup so everybody's everybody's in unison.
Well, let's talk about that timing too, right? Like we're less than a year away from the World Cup at home. Why do we have to release this now? You're telling me you couldn't hold on to this footage and then release it after being like the real reason, the real story behind Christian Pulisic or whatever? And this is where I say, who's in Pulisic's corner telling him that these are good ideas because they need to be fired? And then I thought, oh wait, it's probably just his dad, right? His dad's like, it'd be really good. Let's all of us get on camera and defend your decision again because I mean, what could go wrong, right?
Yeah. No, I right
Ridiculous.
before the World Cup is very confusing. I mean, I know they're probably trying to do it while it's still, I guess, somewhat fresh. I mean, it's definitely not fresh,
It's
but
not.
it's more
They're
fresh now than it will be
resurfacing
in
the
two
issue.
years.
Yeah, they're
No, yeah,
resurfacing
I
the issue.
agree. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I hadn't thought about it in months until this happened again.
Badass.
I was fully moved on. I was like, all right, whatever, it's done. It's an
Well,
over with story. And now
and
it's like you said, it's resurfaced again.
that's literally the best case scenario. Let the news cycle do its thing. Take the bad heat. Do one podcast. Explain it. Right when he explained it on Galazzo's podcast, awesome. Right? We see your point of view. We understand. We sympathize. 2 months later, bring it back up again, being like, "Oh, well, it's not fair because they're mean to us, and we need breaks too. They never did as much as we did." Blah 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 blah. Which again, I'm not saying is wrong. It's fair game to have a conversation whether he should or should not have missed those games. But that was fine 2 months ago. I didn't need a 9 episode documentary outlining everything that happened. Nor did anybody else, because it makes you look immature, it makes you look entitled, which is the big word that keeps getting thrown around with this group. And until you win something meaningful, that's the label that you carry with you because you brought it upon yourself. You're immature and you're entitled until you prove otherwise. All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to share on that? Because I've got one more special topic we haven't done before.
Oh no, not the special. No, let's do the special topic.
All right. Well, first off, make sure you share your thoughts on this Pulisic thing because that is it's some top-notch stuff. But um, I started doing this thing on YouTube with our fantastic YouTube subscriber community, where I post a question a week, a poll question a week, to have some engagement, let people vote and comment, and it's been really really fun. Like lots of engagement relative to what we usually get, to be fair. But I thought that we could. Oh, and Grace wanted to be a part of it too. Isn't that right, Grace? Isn't that right, Puppy? Yes, you're so big. I know. You want to tell them what the question of the week is? No? You want me to tell them? Okay, go down. Go down. Okay. Grace wanted me to tell you guys that we are going to post a question a week and we'll chat about it at the end of every Monday episode. I think that'd be a really fun way to kind of wrap up the news week is with this question of the week. So, um I've really enjoyed it. I think Connor will enjoy it too because this first one relates to his favorite team. Question of the week this week.
Ooh.
If Atlanta United make the playoffs, does Ronnie Dyla keep his job? And I'll tell you, I gave them kind of like choices, and the choices I gave them were yes, absolutely, no, definitely not. Depends on how far he gets, and he should have been gone 3 months ago.
I'll take D. He should have been gone 3 months ago.
Interesting, and
And
he
I
and he
don't think
explained.
he makes it. I don't think, well, for one, I don't think they're making the playoffs, but also two, he, I don't think they think he makes it close to the postseason. I would imagine he's probably done so soon, soonish. I mean, I would hope at least. Listen, I'm all for giving the manager plenty of time to like settle in and get things right. But this is like too much, right? Like we're 25 games in and almost rock bottom of the league. After you just went and spent so much money to bolster this team and created all this hype about how it's going to be like we're revitalized. We've been getting rid of bad contracts, and we're spending money now to go all in. And this is the product that we're getting. No, he's got to go. He's got to. There needs to be big time changes.
I'll tell you, we got 6 interactions on this one so far. It's still up there, but three of them said yes. Three people said, yeah, if he makes the playoffs, we'll keep him. Interesting. Two of them said definitely not. He should go regardless, and one of them said, yeah, he should have been gone months ago. So, um, I think you know what side of the fence I land on because I've been preaching this for about 6 months now. He should have been gone a while ago.
You were ready to throw him out at the game 10.
Yeah, and you know what? I was right about it.
You
Um,
were.
I was. I'll take that. I'll put that on my shoulders. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the new section question of the week. We're going to do that every Monday, so make sure you are following us wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on social media so you can be a part of it. Just search designated players. You will find us. I'm really excited for this because I think we have a really great group of subscribers over on YouTube who will comment on a whole bunch of our stuff and really give us some good feedback. So um, thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time on the next episode of the Designated Players and MLS Podcast. See ya.